Hi everyone, my name is Bhavika Gupta and I am a dentist from India. I recently gave and passed the American Dental Board exam called the INBDE. Today I'll be making a video on my experience of preparing and appearing for this exam. Let's get to it. Before I begin, I want to introduce the INBDE to you all watching. So INBDE stands for the Integrated National Board Dental Examination. Got that right after a lot of tries. And is one of the licensure exams required in the US. It's a pass-fail exam and it's given over a span of 2 days. For dentists like me who didn't go to a dental school in the US but want to further study dentistry in the US, it's pretty much required for almost all courses. For more information about the exam, you can check out the links I've mentioned in the description box below. To save you guys time, I've divided this video into 4 chapters. My preparation timeline, the resources I used to prepare, my exam day experience, and post-exam reflections, right? What mistakes I made, what I could have changed. So stick around for that, for sure. So without further ado, let's get to it. Starting my preparation for the exam was probably the most daunting step of all. So I started preparing during my internship right after I got my final year results. I started by watching the mental dental videos and going through the dental decks, treating the dental decks as sample questions. Moreover, I would study the subject I was posted in. So for example, if I was posted in periodontics, I would be studying perio. So that helped me with my posting work as well as patient work as well as my exam preparation. Basically, during my internship, I completed 1 round of dental decks and 1 round of the mental dental videos of all the clinical subjects. So I hadn't really touched any of the first 2-year subjects like anatomy, pharmacology, and so on. But I think I had a pretty good touch with the clinical subjects. So I started my prep seriously in Jan when I had finally booked the exam for 14th and 17th April 2023. So I had about 3.5 months to prepare for the exam and the panic had started to somewhat set in. Moreover, the first 1-2 months of my preparation were very slow. I was working alongside, plus I was focusing on resources which weren't even important. I'll be talking more about this when I discuss the resources I used to prepare for the exam. So on an average, I would study for about 4 to 6 hours per day. On good days, I would study for a good 6-8 hours, maybe more. But on bad days, I had a lot of bad days, and on bad days, I could hardly study for 1 or 2 hours a day. And that's okay, because as long as I was studying every day, I think average to about 4-6 hours of studying every day, which turned out well enough, right? So a fun fact about this exam is that you cannot give it in India, which is very unfortunate, to be honest. Personal opinion, but if you can give the USMLE in India, why not the INBDE, right? Anyway, you cannot give this exam in India, and Indian students or any foreign trained students have to travel from their home country to either US or Canada in order to appear for this exam. So I decided to fly from India to US on 20th March 2023, about 3 weeks before my exam. I decided to do so in order to acclimatize myself to the weather, to the difference in time zones, and to just settle in before, a very important exam of my life. The first 2 months, Feb and March, I was mainly focusing on each subject separately and doing their practice questions. 15 days prior to the actual exam, I was mainly focusing on practice questions as well as mock tests. So I made sure I did enough mock tests, to make sure that I was confident to do any sort of question that came my way on the exam day. However, life had other plans for me. Even though I felt really great and I felt really confident, the night before my exam, I spiraled I spiraled so bad, I could not sleep that day at all. I mean, I literally went to give that exam on 1 hour of sleep. Anyway, let's skip to the most awaited chapter of this video, the resources I used to study for this exam. Before I share my study resources, I just want to share that it took me a long time to figure out which resources are actually relevant for an international dentist preparing for INBDE. To help you accelerate your preparation for the exam, I have compiled a list of all my resources and rated them according to my personal assessment of their relevance. I really hope this list helps you prevent the mistakes I made during my preparation. First up is Mental Dental. Dr. Ryan's Mental Dental videos are the best. All his content is available for free on YouTube, and honestly, his videos are the most comprehensive, covering the most high-yield topics and summarized so well that it's pretty much unbelievable. 95% of the topics I was tested on were covered by Mental Dental. This should be the primary and most important resource you use for your preparation. I'll give it a 10 by 10 and say that it's the essential resource for your preparation. Next is the Anki deck created by the French dentist. If you don't know what Anki is, I highly suggest you Google it and find out more about it. These Anki decks are based on the Mental Dental videos and are very comprehensive. Again, they are available for free. I'll link to it in the description box below. These saved me so much of time and effort. The information given in the decks was very INBDE relevant, focused only on the high yield topics. It helped me memorize a lot in very little time. I wish I could give it 100 by 10, but for now I'll stick to 10 by 10. Booster was my primary source of practice questions. They had over 2000 questions with very comprehensive explanations and which were focused only on the high yield topics. I focused on understanding the concepts they had questions on rather than just mugging up the answers to their questions. Focusing on learning the topic rather than the question really helped, as I didn't get the exact same questions on my test, but I still could answer many questions confidently as I knew the concepts inside out. They also have great customer service, and if you have any doubts, they have dentists on board who are available to answer your doubts. I loved their question bank, so I'll give it a 9 by 10. Bootcamp was not my primary source, but it's comparable to Booster. They also have a huge question bank focused on high-yield topics, great customer service, and comprehensive mock tests. It has an additional feature of Create a Test, wherein you can literally create a test of customized number of questions, pick which subjects you want to be tested on, and personalize it according to your needs. I mainly used Booster for the Create a Test feature in the last 10-15 days of my preparation. Solving these self-made tests as mock tests really helped. I'd give it a 9.5 out of 10. 0.5 higher just because of the Create a Test feature, otherwise it's pretty much comparable to Booster. Next is Dental Decks. I used Dental Decks to study and ask practice questions during my internship. However, I did not use it during my final preparation 2-3 months before my exam. I know a lot of people for whom they were the primary source and they ended up passing too. So personally, I'd give it a 5 by 10 and consider it a great optional resource than a primary resource, especially for important subjects like pharmacology and pathology. Next, I want to talk about the study boards. Influenced by their very strong marketing on Facebook, I decided to join TSB for my preparation. And it was honestly my biggest mistake. I wasted my whole month of January trying to complete their pointless question bank for 2 unimportant subjects like periodontics and orthodontics. They have a huge question bank of very outdated and irrelevant questions which have very questionable English. Their notes are just horrible and their website is way too slow. Going through their whole data will take a whole year, and that is honestly a waste of time when there are way better and more efficient study resources available on the internet. I would not recommend this to anyone as I do think it's a waste of time and especially money. I hated my experience with TSB, which is why I'm giving it a 1 by 10. Telegram groups were great to discuss doubts and argue with other dentists and students also preparing for this exam. If you don't already know, RQs are recent questions or remembered questions. They are basically questions that have appeared on the exam in the past. These are obviously made available unofficially by kind people who have taken the time to compile the questions they got in their exam into a file for the ease of future test takers. I did a few RQ files just before my exam and they were great practice. But some downfalls of these groups are that 1. People can tell you the wrong answer to a question, so make sure that you check all answers for yourself and don't blindly follow someone. And the second downfall is that some groups, especially Dental Tribe, are very cult-like. For example, they have very strict rules regarding group discussions and who is allowed entry into the group, and they often kick people out of their group. If you get into the group, it's great, but if you don't, there's no need to sweat it, as getting into the group is not essential to pass. Lots of people have passed the exam without being a part of Dental Tribe. Overall, I'll give these groups a 7/8 rating. ADA's Principle of Ethic document is essential for INBDE preparation. You need to know this single document inside out, as you can expect about 10 to 15 questions directly from it. JNCDE's sample questions are a must. That's a no-brainer. Tufts Pharma was great in helping me understand concepts. However, the questions are a bit outdated. I'll give it an 8/10 because it does help with concepts. In conclusion, I just want to share this slide where I've listed out my recommendations for study resources that you can use for your INBDE preparation. You can customize it according to your own liking, or you can add subtract as per your needs. Just want to warn you beforehand that the pattern of the exam questions will probably keep on changing, and these resources might become obsolete in some time. So please keep that in mind during your preparation. The exam day was tough. Not going to lie, it was definitely tough. I had to sit and answer 100 questions in 105 minutes, which is about 1 hour 45 minutes, and I had to do that 4 times with just 15 minutes break in between. It was a very lengthy test. However, on the day of the exam, I was so charged up with adrenaline for some reason that at least the first 2 sessions, they went by like I was too zoned in to even notice them fly by. By the 3rd session, of course, I was a bit tired and the fatigue had started to set in and I could feel a little woozy. Most horrible of them all was the 4th session when I was most definitely woozy. Like I just wanted to run away from the test center and go lie in a bed and sleep. It was the first time I was giving such a lengthy exam and it for sure tested me to my limit. Once session 4 ended, day 1 ended, and I had very mixed feelings about how it went, to be very honest. I did not know if I did well enough to pass or if I did not do well enough to fail. I had very mixed feelings about it. I did not get a lot of recent questions also, which is why I could not judge if a lot of my answers were right or not. Anyway, I had 2 days between my day 1 and day 2. I had planned to study a lot, but I could not study that much because I was honestly exhausted. So I just rested for 1 day, and 1 day I just went about reviewing whatever notes I had made previously. On the 2nd day of my exam, day 2, 17th April 2023, I definitely felt way better and much more confident than I did just before day 1. However, during the exam, I still felt very woozy. I felt exhausted. I felt as if I had thought about teeth for a very long time and I just did not want to think about teeth anymore. But we made it through session 5 and 6. The exam ended and I felt relieved. I felt relieved that at least it had ended. I still wasn't very sure if it had gone well or if it hadn't gone well, but that was a problem for future Bhavika. The present Bhavika, the Bhavika of 17th April 2023, was very happy that the exam was at least over. Number 1. Duration of the exam is your biggest enemy, and I cannot emphasize this enough. The exam is 10.5 hours long. not including the breaks in between, and it's a long time for your brain to process information and answer questions correctly. Make sure with your knowledge you also need to build up your stamina leading up to the exam day, and make sure that if you're giving the exam, you practice enough questions, do enough mock tests in order to have that stamina on the exam day to solve all questions without feeling exhausted. Do not forget to carry these things on your exam day with you. 2 IDs for administration purposes, medicines, basic medicines like paracetamol, antacids, eye drop, or any sort of medication that you might need in between your exam, during your breaks or anything like that. I, for example, needed an antacid just before my exam. Definitely consider carrying those. Carry snacks, carry some granola bars, chocolates, any sort of snacks. Carry a light lunch with you, sandwiches or whatever you like. Just carry food, okay, because you will need food in between your sessions. Definitely utilize your breaks to eat and go to the washroom. So one of the reasons why I spiraled just before my exam day was because I was very fearful of the unknown. I didn't know what the Prometric test center looked like. I did not know what sort of questions I would get. I did not know, I was too worried. What if I'm too cold? What if I'm too hot? What if things aren't right? What if I mess up? So there were a lot of uncertainties going on in my head, right? I later found out that Prometric test centers have a test drive wherein you can go to the test center and for 30 minutes you can just acclimatize yourself to the surroundings of the test center and to the test center. They charge about $30-40 for that. So if you're someone like me who gets very nervous and who gets this exam anxiety, you should definitely consider something like this, where you go to the test center before your exam and just go through a test drive, a test run of the exam. I think it will really help you and your nerves on the day of the exam. On a similar note, you can also consider giving your TOEFL before you give your INBDE, because TOEFL exam is also a standardized test. So it gives you a feel of what a standardized test is supposed to be like. So definitely consider giving your TOEFL before you give your INBDE. One of the most frequent questions asked on the blog is if coaching is required to pass the INBDE. Personally speaking, I did not take any coaching and I did not feel the need for any coaching even during my preparation. There are tons of resources available online which are free or cheaper and way more efficient than a coaching institute. If you're somebody who absolutely needs lectures in order to learn or needs somebody to teach any information to them, please do consider Mental Dental. Their lectures are so complete in themselves that you do not really need any other lecture-like resource other than Mental Dental. Moreover, if you are somebody who likes to be taught, maybe you can join a group discussion or you can start a study group where you and your partner can teach the stuff to each other, something like that. I'm sure you can find a way around it. But coaching institute, I really think, is not the answer. Moreover, American students who refer to American resources only have a 1% failure rate in the INBDE because they obviously know the ground reality of the exam. Whereas, foreign trained dentists and dental students have a 33% failure rate in the INBDE. You can make whatever you want of that, but I do think you should prioritize other resources available online rather than making coaching your primary source of information. I think I've pretty much covered it all, right? In case I've missed out on anything and you have any questions, feel free to reach out. You can comment down below any questions you may have, or you can DM us on Instagram, or you can even email us if you want to. Feel free to ask your doubts and I'll be more than happy to help, because I know that this journey requires a lot of patience and it's a very long journey, and if I can help anyone, I'll be more than happy to. In the end, I would like to say that if you're somebody who dreams of studying in the US after completing your dental education in any other country, the INBDE is your gateway to that dream. And it is a gateway to my dream as well. It was a very important exam for me, and I'm glad everything worked out. And I hope that it works out for you too if you're planning to give it anytime soon. I hope this video helped you understand the ground reality of the INBDE and that it's not that difficult of an exam. Yes, it is difficult, but it is pretty much doable. If, for example, you have any relatives or any friends, you know, who say, oh, you won't be able to do it, you can ignore them on my behalf, because you can. You definitely can. Just believe in yourself, try your best and do it, and you can do it. Come on, you can do it. Definitely you can do it, okay? If you found this video helpful, please help us by liking, sharing and subscribing. Oh my god, it's the first time I'm saying this. This is probably our first video on our YouTube channel. So please do support us by liking, sharing and subscribing. Definitely leave a comment below if you found our video helpful, and please do check out our Instagram blog called @TheAlmostDentists. I'll link it to somewhere here. Wow, I feel like a YouTuber now. Middle school Bhavika is so proud. Have a great day, have a great week. I will see you in the next video.